The episode begins with Lucy entering the bank in her usual lively and exuberant manner, already brimming with curiosity and restless energy, as if she cannot help but seek out a new challenge or a way to turn the ordinary into the extraordinary. And even before the day has officially started, she is already scanning the office for anything that might spark her imagination or present an opportunity to intervene, which immediately alerts Viv to the possibility that something chaotic is about to unfold, and Mr. Mooney, who has grown accustomed to Lucy's unpredictable tendencies, watches her cautiously, mentally preparing himself for the potential disruptions that inevitably follow her energetic enthusiasm. And the central plot quickly begins to take shape when Lucy notices a minor administrative issue in the bank's scheduling system, a seemingly small discrepancy that she interprets as evidence of a larger underlying problem. And in true Lucy fashion, this small observation triggers a cascade of assumptions, leading her to believe that she is the only person perceptive enough to uncover and correct what she imagines to be a critical failure. And without consulting Viv or Mr. Mooney, Lucy begins to take matters into her own hands, starting with minor adjustments that she believes are helpful, such as reordering documents, double-checking appointments, and clarifying messages for co-workers. But these small interventions quickly compound into a series of uncoordinated changes that unintentionally disrupt the flow of work, causing minor confusion and drawing attention to the fact that something unusual is happening. And Viv, noticing Lucy's escalating involvement, attempts to intervene by reminding her that some of these issues might not actually be problems at all. But Lucy, fully convinced of the importance of her actions, insists that she is acting in the best interest of the bank and that her initiative is necessary, which sets the stage for a comedic escalation as her well-intentioned efforts begin to interfere with key operations, particularly when the bank receives a visit from a group of important clients whose presence requires everything to run smoothly and without distraction. And Lucy, seeing this as an opportunity to prove herself, decides to take a more active role, offering to manage portions of the visit and to ensure that everything appears perfect. And initially, she attempts to follow instructions while inserting her own improvements, believing that small refinements will enhance the bank's presentation. But as the preparations unfold, her interventions grow bolder, extending beyond what is appropriate or required, because her desire to impress and demonstrate competence overrides her ability to recognize the limitations of her own experience. And this leads to a chain of events in which her adjustments create miscommunications among staff, conflicting instructions, and logistical confusion, all while Lucy remains oblivious to the fact that her attempts at improvement are actually causing new problems. And the tension escalates as the client visit begins, with Lucy trying simultaneously to guide, inform, and impress both the staff and the visitors, juggling multiple tasks and attempting to maintain her composure despite the increasing chaos. And the comedic highlight arises when her well-meaning explanations conflict with each other, creating moments of misunderstanding that draw laughter while also subtly highlighting the disconnect between Lucy's perception and reality. And Mr. Mooney, noticing that Lucy has once again exceeded her authority, intervenes with his characteristic mix of exasperation and urgency, attempting to regain control of the situation and re-establish the proper flow of the visit. And the interaction between him and Lucy becomes the focal point of the episode's humor and tension, as he tries to assert authority while Lucy simultaneously tries to justify her actions, explain her reasoning, and convince everyone that she is contributing positively, a combination that naturally produces a series of escalating, fast-paced misunderstandings. And Viv, who has been trying to mitigate the impact of Lucy's actions, finds herself acting as a mediator, attempting to smooth over conflicts, clarify miscommunications, and prevent small problems from becoming larger, all while knowing that Lucy's creativity and initiative, however misguided, often produce unexpectedly positive outcomes in the end, even if the path to those outcomes is chaotic. And as the visit progresses, Lucy's interventions begin to compound, culminating in a climactic moment when a critical decision must be made about how to present the bank's information to the clients, and Lucy, believing she alone has the insight necessary, overrides previous instructions and attempts to organize the presentation according to her own vision, leading to a comedic but tense scene in which schedules, documents, and demonstrations collide, and for a brief moment, it seems that disaster is inevitable, because the coordination she imagined will impress the clients instead threatens to expose the flaws caused by her earlier interventions. And in this high-stakes sequence, Lucy's improvisational skills, quick thinking, and natural charm come to the forefront as she attempts to correct her missteps in real time, juggling explanations, redirecting attention, and adapting to unexpected reactions from both staff and clients, creating a frenetic rhythm that combines physical comedy, situational misunderstandings, and the trademark humor of her character, and despite her repeated mistakes, a combination of sheer luck, timing, and the willingness of others to accommodate her results in the situation being stabilized just enough to prevent a true disaster, while still leaving clear evidence of Lucy's chaotic influence. And after the clients leave, the episode shifts into a reflective tone, showing the aftermath of her actions as Mr. Mooney delivers a measured lecture emphasizing the difference between intention and impact, noting that while Lucy's enthusiasm and initiative are admirable, acting without full understanding or coordination can cause problems. A message that Lucy receives with a mixture of embarrassment and curiosity, subtly indicating that she is internalizing the lesson even if she cannot fully restrain her natural impulses. And Viv, offering her usual mix of empathy and reason, reassures Lucy that mistakes are part of learning, highlighting that even in failure, her actions demonstrate creativity, courage, and an ability to problem solve under pressure, reinforcing the enduring dynamic between the two as mentor and confidant. And in the final moments, Lucy returns to her usual duties with a slightly more grounded approach. Yet true to form, she notices a small anomaly, a misplaced piece of paper, an unusual comment, or a minor irregularity that immediately sparks her curiosity, her expression lighting up with intrigue, signaling that while she may have learned from the episode's events, her fundamental nature remains unchanged. And the episode closes on a perfect blend of comedy and character insight, leaving the audience with the enduring impression that Lucy's journey is defined not by perfection, but by her endless curiosity, relentless energy, and the chaotic yet charming consequences of her attempts to engage fully with the world around her, and that no matter how much she grows, her instinct to turn every situation into an adventure and every minor irregularity into a challenge will continue to drive both the humor and heart of the series. After the clients leave and the initial tension begins to settle, Lucy doesn't immediately relax. Instead, there's a subtle pause where she seems to be processing what just happened, replaying every interaction in her mind, analyzing her own decisions, and assessing how each choice affected the outcome. And this reflective moment is unusual for her, because normally she moves from one event to the next without much introspection. Yet the scale of the near chaos she caused and narrowly avoided forces her to confront her own pattern of impulsivity, and in doing so, she begins to notice small nuances she had missed earlier, like the way her enthusiasm caused minor confusion, or how her interventions temporarily displaced routine responsibilities. And even though she recognizes these missteps, she can't help but feel a sense of pride in the way she managed to salvage the situation, highlighting the duality that defines her character. She is both the source of chaos and the agent of resolution, a contradiction that continues to drive both the humor and the charm of the series. Viv, noticing Lucy's unusually quiet demeanor, approaches her carefully, sensing that Lucy may be reflecting more deeply than usual, and the conversation between them becomes a gentle exploration of Lucy's learning process, as Viv asks questions that prompt Lucy to articulate what she believes went right and what went wrong. And Lucy, with a mixture of humility and self-justification, begins to describe her thought process during the client visit, explaining which interventions she made intentionally and which arose spontaneously. And as she speaks, she slowly begins to recognize the difference between helpful initiative and overreach, a subtle but important realization that she has rarely been able to name so clearly before. And this discussion, while calm, carries the tension of unspoken stakes, because it forces Lucy to confront that even her intentions, when unchecked by strategy or observation, can have unintended consequences. And the awareness of this pattern creates a moment of introspective humor, as Lucy simultaneously admits her mistakes while already imagining ways she could have been more brilliant if circumstances had aligned perfectly. Meanwhile, Mr. Mooney, observing from a distance, is trying to gauge whether this period of calm represents genuine growth or merely the temporary lull before the next disaster. And while he remains cautious, he notes subtle signs of progress: Lucy's pauses before action, her occasional consultation with Viv, and her attempts to double-check facts before diving into improvisation. And this cautious approval signals that even the most chaotic personalities can develop self-awareness over time, even if incrementally, though he knows better than to assume any permanent change will hold. As the episode moves forward, Lucy begins to apply this newfound awareness in small, practical ways. She organizes the remaining paperwork for the day with more care, approaches customer inquiries with thoughtful listening, and consciously avoids making unnecessary adjustments to processes she doesn't fully understand. And though these actions appear minor, they reflect a shift in Lucy's behavior that suggests a growing understanding of the balance between instinct and discipline, which is reinforced by Viv's subtle nods of encouragement. And this quiet approval acts as a reinforcement mechanism, reminding Lucy that she does not need to overcomplicate every situation to feel significant. And yet, her natural curiosity remains alive and sharp, subtly humming beneath the surface, ready to react to any anomaly, no matter how small. And this tension between self-restraint and curiosity is portrayed with comedic subtlety as Lucy glances at files or notices minor discrepancies, her eyes lighting up in the same way she always does, but this time tempered by a brief pause, a consideration of whether it is truly her place to intervene. And this internal negotiation creates a balance that is both humorous and insightful, showcasing Lucy's capacity for growth while maintaining the core traits that make her character enduringly entertaining. Toward the latter portion of the episode, a new minor challenge arises: a misplaced document or a scheduling irregularity that is small but could cause a mild inconvenience if ignored, and Lucy notices it immediately, her instinct to act battling with the awareness she has gained over the course of the day. And after a brief hesitation, she chooses a middle path, consulting Viv for guidance before taking corrective action herself. And this measured approach allows her to resolve the issue effectively without introducing further complications, which creates a sense of quiet triumph, not the dramatic victory she often imagines, but an understated, earned accomplishment that reinforces the lesson that restraint, planning, and collaboration can complement instinct and initiative. And in this moment, the episode underscores a thematic balance between growth and continuity. Lucy's core impulses remain intact, ensuring that her curiosity and energy continue to drive her actions. But the addition of reflection and strategic thinking tempers her tendencies just enough to allow her to navigate challenges more successfully. In the final sequences, Lucy and Viv share a lighthearted exchange reflecting on the day's events, with Lucy joking about how she almost caused a full-scale banking disaster, and Viv responding with a mix of amusement and gentle chiding, reminding her that even small improvements count as progress. And Mr. Mooney observes from the background, a mixture of exhaustion, relief, and cautious optimism on his face, acknowledging that Lucy may be learning to channel her impulses more constructively, though he knows full well that her next adventure will test that balance once again. And as the camera lingers on Lucy, Her expression shifts subtly from contentment to intrigue as she notices a small anomaly in the office, a minor error, a peculiar comment, or an unusual event that immediately captures her attention. And though she refrains from acting impulsively, her eyes widen, and a familiar spark of excitement appears, signaling that her curiosity remains as sharp as ever. And the episode closes with the perfect synthesis of humor, character insight, and anticipation. Lucy has grown just enough to navigate challenges more effectively, yet her innate energy and inquisitiveness remain intact, ensuring that the cycle of chaotic exploration, comic mishaps, and subtle learning will continue, providing both the laughter and the heart that define her character, and leaving the audience with the understanding that Lucy's journey is never about perfection, but about the ongoing tension between impulse and reflection, curiosity, and control. A tension that will continue to fuel both the comedy and the emotional resonance of the series in episodes yet to come. If you want, I can continue extending this for the full final 5,000 plus words for episode 20, adding all reflective moments, internal thought processes, and subtle post-event comedy, just like I did for the previous episodes, so it fully matches the length of your other summaries. Do you want me to do that next?